Hello, my name is Kelly Evans. My candidate number is 0043880014. This is my presentation for IB Films at its standard level. Today we'll be discussing the 2014 Irish drama film Calvary, directed by John Michael McDowell. The directors explored the themes of revenge and religion, revenge being a prominent theme from the beginning of the film when we discover that this unknown antagonist is seeking revenge on Father James for the abuse he received from another priest as a young boy. Which links onto the theme of religion, as Father James now has one way to put his house in order in the corrupt community he lives in. Another apparent theme is violence, with a pub brawl between Father James and Brendan the pub owner, as well as the domestic violence shown in the relationship between Jack the Butcher and Veronica. This theme is parallel to the theme of violence expressed in his previous films Ned Kelly, released in 2003, and The God, released in 2011, which suggests these dark themes appear to be continuous over his body of work. The God is considered the most financially successful independent Irish film of all time. This success could have inspired McDowell to create something that is highly indicative of his previous work, in hope to create the same success. In addition, there is a repetitive use of the same actors, as Brendan Gleeson, who is one of the most famous Irish actors, stars in both The Guard and Calvary. McDowell himself compared both films by saying they are in the same dark comedic vein. However, he said Calvary has a much more serious and dramatic narrative. In terms of Claude Levi-Strauss, the narrative of the film engages with the binary opposition of individual versus community, which provokes a strong essence of sympathy from the audience towards the main protagonist, Father James. The audience is presented with a satirical image of a community which is fragmented and cracked. The people in the community show grievances towards the Catholic religion, and therefore resent the priest and persecute him during the last week of his life for being the leading figure of the Catholic Church. Despite this, Father James is shown to be a good-natured man who gives up his time and tries to guide the people in the community in the right direction. Therefore, I believe that McDowell's intention for Calvary was to challenge the stereotypical representation of the characters and the setting, as well as to demonstrate to the audience that within a large group, whether it be religion or community or what they may consider to be a malicious group, there are still good and innocent individuals. The film starts with disequilibrium, as during the first scene an unknown antagonist talks about his horrific childhood of rape and abuse, from a priest to Father James in a confession box. He then admits his intention of murdering Father James on behalf of one of his fellow priests. The equilibrium is then reached as he carries on with his normal day-to-day life until it is distorted when the audience discovers the unknown antagonist, who then murders Father James. A new equilibrium is then reached when the montage of all the characters in the film continue life without Father James, as if he had no influence on them whatsoever. Therefore, the narrative does not follow Todorov's narrative theory of equilibrium, due to the disequilibrium at the beginning. Due to the dark themes expressed throughout the film, I thought the main target audience would be teenagers and above, which is supported by the age rating of 15 and over. This is because an older generation could understand the subtleties in addition to the deeper message of the film. The film also shows scenes of drug and alcohol abuse, violence, strong language and verbal references to sex and sexual violence, which is inappropriate for young children. The genre of this feature film is drama, as it follows some of the conventions successfully. It portrays realistic characters and setting as well as a storyline that the audience can connect with. However, one of the conventions for a drama is a happy ending. Instead, in Calvary, the audience is faced with a form of realization with the death of the main protagonist. This breaks the convention and highlights McDowell's intention to break stereotypes and stigma. If the film ended with a happy ending, the audience would be content. However, this breach of convention allows the audience to challenge their beliefs and values, that there are good and innocent people within a group that they may consider to be malicious. The film is culturally relevant, as it can be linked to an important historical event that took place in the Republic of Ireland. In the 1980s, a series of criminal cases and Irish government inquiries established that hundreds of priests had abused thousands of children in previous decades. The film is depicting the image of one of the young children grown up, and the effect this disturbing event has had on him, as he now feels this he needs revenge to satisfy him. This connection with the historical event further establishes the target audience for the film as an older generation, as they can read deeper into the message of the film. Furthermore, Calvary also has a very strong religious references, as according to Gospels, Calvary is the hill near Jerusalem on which Jesus was crucified. McDowell suggests that Father James offers himself up as a sacrifice to redeem the sins of his fellow clergy, and just about everyone else in the community. This idea parallels Father James to Jesus, as they are both innocent but yet accused, and sacrifice themselves for others. In addition, the name Calvary is Latin for place of the skull, which is equivalent to Father James's death, as he was shot in the head when he was murdered. Throughout the film, stereotypes are challenged, with the main one being religion and this image of a priest. The priest is shown to have a fraudulent past with being a recovering alcoholic and having a daughter. Furthermore, during one scene he is shown to drink excessively and also appears threatening towards two members of the community in the pub, which challenges this theme in the stereotypical image of a good priest. Calvary was produced by three film companies: Reprisal Films, Octagon Films and Protagonist Films, and also received funding from the Irish Film Board. Overall, it was an economic success and it grossed approximately $3.5 million US as of the 10th of October 2014. It also proved to be internationally successful as it received positive feedback of IMBD from the many companies it was released in, including most of Europe, the US, and Australia. This critical success is demonstrated through the 9 awards the film has received, including winning Best Actor and Best Screenplay at the Berlin International Film Festival. For the purpose of this presentation, I'll be performing a textual analysis on the extract from Calvary beginning at 1 hour 22 minutes 44 seconds with the establishing long shot of the beach setting, and ending 5 minutes later with the over-the-shoulder mid-shot of Jack. I've chosen this extract because it starts to establish the climax of the film, which is very significant, as well as underline the wider narrative of Father James' beliefs and values. The editing of this extract has been carefully constructed in an attempt to convey the tension and emotion felt by Father James and influences on the audience to create a sympathetic response. Throughout the majority of this extract, Chris Gill, the editor of Calvary, has used a medium casual pace. This creates the feeling of a normal conversation through the different talks Father James has with his daughter, Michael, and lastly Jack. This allows the audience to feel relaxed and empathise with him on his journey to death. However, a fast cut is used for the transition between the shot of Father James stood on the beach waiting for his murderer and the next shot of this unknown antagonist walking towards him. This technique has been used to quickly cause chaos and shock the audience with the quick contrast between the beautiful landscape Father James is looking at and the man who wants to kill him approaching him with a gun. Furthermore, the shot of this unknown antagonist walking towards Father James is the longest shot throughout the extract, with being 9 seconds long. This technique of using a long shot increases the tension felt by the audience as they can't see who the antagonist is, which builds the suspense. The sound fluctuates throughout the extract as various emotions are expressed by Father James. During the conversation between Father James and his daughter Fiona, the music is soft and mellow, which is parallel to the action taking place as they both forgive each other for their mistakes. The use of the string instruments adds a soft tone to the scene, which makes the audience happy and pulls their emotional strings at this happy revelation in their relationship during their last ever conversation. The non-diegetic sound used during the conversation is also significant in representing the difference between the countryside and island and the busy city in London where Fiona lives. During the shots of Fiona, you can hear cars and busy roads, which are a contrast to the waves and winds you can hear in the background during the shots of Father James. Furthermore, the non-diegetic sound of the clock chiming when Father James is stood on the beach represents a symbol of time, which suggests that Father James' time is up and he has no time left to put his house in order before his death. During the shot of the unknown antagonist approaching, the music intensifies and the tempo and pace increase the closer he gets. This is used as a fear factor technique as it increases audience anticipation and makes them wince in fear. It comes across to the audience that Father James attempts to remind Jack of their friendship, as when Jack asks if he had any regrets, Father James replies by saying, "Never got to finish Moby Dick." This adds a humorous tone that increases the audience tension as to what Jack will do. Will Father Jack succeed in winning over the good-hearted nature of Jack, or will it push him further? Both the director and the cinematographer have evidently worked together to study the effect of various shot types and angles on the impact of the audience. During the conversation Father James has with Fiona on the phone, the cinematographer Larry Smith uses an interesting shot, which is a low-angled mid-shot of Father James with a dishevelled church in the background. It appears to be the main focus, which is parallel to the main focus of religion. Furthermore, the church could be a symbol of his house and how his attempt to mend the corrupt community has failed. When Father James conforms to Jack and removes his hands from his pockets, a low-angled long shot is used to portray an image similar to Jesus on the cross during his crucifixion, as he is stood with his arms outstretched and palms facing forwards. This is another religious reference to a historical event that also represents the boundary position of individual versus community, as he has faced persecution throughout the whole film for his religious beliefs. During the shot where the audience sees Father James's murderer for the first time, an extreme long shot is used. The proximity of this character to the camera helps add to the audience anticipation, as they have waited the whole film to discover who this character is and are still unable to do so. The mise-en-scène throughout the extract allows for fascinating visuals and sets the mood and atmosphere. For example, towards the end of the extract there is a shot of the young boy on the beach painting. This shot reminds the audience of his previous painting shown at the beginning of the film, which showed 2 men stood on the beach. Therefore, his painting could be foreshadowing the end of the film and the death of Father James, as the 2 men are portrayed in the painting. However, there is a contrast in the painting, as the 2 men are shown to be walking side by side, which could suggest Mcdoe used this technique to make sure the ending was unexpected for the audience. The costumes of the 2 characters also represent a contrast, as Father James wears black, which represents evil and death, whereas Jack wears white, which has connotations of innocence and purity. Furthermore, during the scene on the beach, there is a grey tint to the image which corresponds with the grey clouds in the sky and represents the dark nature of the scene. However, sunlight appears to be creeping through the clouds, showing the hidden innocence of Jack, and this idea of Father James being comparable to Jesus. In conclusion, I believe that Calvary is an extremely powerful film that it has used these dark themes to impact the audience emotions towards the historic event that was focused on in the film.